Have you ever believed your silence was power? You stopped texting, you stopped calling, you vanished, convinced the echo of your absence would pull her back. But silence without transformation is not strength. It is only longing dressed in shadows, and women feel it. They sense when a man's center is anchored and when it still leans toward them for balance. The real question isn't, will she notice my silence? The real question is, has my silence changed me? Because only then does silence speak in a language no woman can ignore. If you're ready to stop using silence as camouflage and start wielding it as strength, start this journey now. Like this video and subscribe to Stoic Station, where stillness becomes power and discipline becomes freedom. Drop a 1 in the comments if you've ever used silence hoping she'd miss you, and a 2 if you're ready to turn silence into strength she cannot overlook. I want to hear where you stand, and stay with me, because what you'll discover next will forever change how you see every quiet moment from this day forward. Let's dive in. Part 1. Silence isn't strength. Picture this. A man sitting alone in the dark at midnight. His phone is silent, untouched. He hasn't texted her in weeks, hasn't called, hasn't pleaded. To the outside world it may look like discipline, but his eyes betray him. They keep drifting back to her Instagram. He scrolls, he lingers, he aches. And within that ache he convinces himself that his silence is power, that disappearing has made him strong. But deep down, beneath all the restraint, he knows the truth. He has not let go. This is where so many men stumble. They mistake silence for strength, believing that absence itself will force her to feel their void. They imagine that pulling away will ignite longing, yet silence without transformation is not strength. It is camouflage, a mask stretched thin over the same dependence, the same ache, the same orbit around her. And women, whether admitted or not, are born readers of such disguises. For centuries their survival depended on it. They learned to sense what lies beneath words, posture, tone, the way energy lingers in a room. A woman does not need your messages to know where you stand. If your silence is filled with longing, she feels it. If your mind still circles her every day, your absence is not mystery. It is pursuit in disguise. You have not disappeared. You have simply made yourself quieter while remaining in her orbit. And predictability is the enemy of attraction. What she sees is not a man who has transcended her, but a man still tethered to her gravity, like a planet trapped in a star's pull. You are not elusive, you are transparent. You are not strong, you are waiting. And a man who waits for someone else to define his worth will never command respect. Real silence is not withholding words. It is reclaiming space in your inner world. It is cutting the strings that tie your identity to her recognition. It is recentralizing yourself as the axis of your own life. When your silence rises from sovereignty, not strategy, it shifts everything. You no longer check her feed because your energy is invested in building your own. You no longer replay her memory because your days are too full to leave space for ghosts. You no longer wonder if she notices because her noticing is no longer the measure of your growth. The Stoics called this the dichotomy of control. You govern your actions, never her reactions. You decide the discipline of your body, the direction of your mind, the cultivation of your purpose. You cannot force her to feel your absence, but you can ensure that your presence in your own life is undeniable. Until silence flows from this truth, it will never be felt as strength. And here is the paradox that transforms everything. The moment you stop using silence to make her miss you is the moment silence begins to carry power. It is no longer emptiness, it is presence. It is not a tactic, it is truth. And truth always speaks louder than longing. Part 2. The Trap of Waiting. Picture this. You've done everything the books and videos told you to do. You've cut all contact. No texts, no calls, no late night, just checking in messages that once came from weakness. Outwardly, it looks like discipline, but inside, the hours still crawl by. You wake each morning wondering if today will be the day her name lights up your phone. You fall asleep hoping the silence will break before you do. And so, without realizing it, you've traded chasing her for waiting on her, and that trap is far more dangerous than it looks. This is the silent prison of no contact without change. Time itself is not your ally. It does not heal attraction. It only magnifies the truth of who you are. If nothing inside you evolves, nothing outside you will shift. You are not building suspense. You are preserving the same man she already decided to leave. And the longer you stay that man, the more her choice feels justified in her mind. Too many men confuse silence with progress. They treat no contact like a pause button, imagining that curiosity will grow in the quiet. But pause is not progress. A pause is simply a delay, the same old story waiting to resume from the same page. If your habits remain unchanged, if your thoughts still circle her memory, if your routines look identical to the ones that suffocated the relationship, then silence is nothing more than stale air. It does not breathe new life into attraction, it suffocates it further. And here lies the cruel paradox. The more you wait, the less she feels your absence. Why? Because in truth, you never left her world at all. Your silence still faces her door, hoping it will open. She can feel that your energy is still chained to her approval, that your days still orbit her shadow. Women may not be able to explain it in words, but they sense it. Your waiting whispers louder than your silence. But no contact was never meant to be a waiting room. It was meant to be a forge, a place where the fire of absence reshapes you into something new. If you want silence to have weight, you must turn it into a season of becoming. Each week, every day must carry momentum, not to prove yourself to her, but to prove to yourself that you are no longer defined by her presence or her absence. In the first 2 weeks, cut the triggers. Delete her number so your fingers cannot betray you in moments of weakness. Unfollow the feeds that keep her image alive in your mind. Remove the reminders that anchor you to a past that no longer serves you. In the following weeks, rebuild your body. Train for strength. Reclaim the posture that shows not only physical power, but inner stability. Let your energy return to you. Then, sharpen your mind. Pick one skill that increases your value in the marketplace, something that reminds you that mastery compounds for life. Finally, in the weeks that follow, expand outward. Explore new places, step into new circles, surround yourself with new opportunities that stretch you beyond what you thought possible. This is not distraction, it is reconstruction. It is the transformation that makes your silence felt without a single word. Because when she eventually hears your name, sees your face, or stumbles across whispers of the man you are becoming, she will not just see the man she left, she will see the man she underestimated, and that realization stings deeper than your absence ever could. But here is the truth most men run from. This is not about making her regret. It is about burning away the version of you that would still need her regret to feel whole. No contact is not a tactic, it is a crucible. And the man who uses it to sharpen body, mind, and soul emerges unrecognizable to the one who left. So ask yourself this: are you simply pausing your life, hoping her curiosity grows, or are you forging forward into a man so complete that her reaction no longer matters? Because the day you stop waiting for her is the day your silence stops waiting too. And that is when it transforms from emptiness into power. Part 3. Absence only matters with growth. In the beginning, your absence is not the thunderclap you imagine. To her, it feels safe, almost comforting. She tells herself you are licking wounds in silence, pacing in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to reappear with the same old words. She thinks she knows your script because history has conditioned her to expect it. Many men disappear for a season, but only as bait, pulling back with the intention of casting forward again. And when you follow that same script, you fail. Because absence without transformation is not mystery, it is predictability. Absence only unsettles her when it collides with progress. The reason is simple. Human beings rest easy when their assumptions are confirmed, but they become restless when the story no longer follows their expectations. If she expects you to hide in pain and instead discovers that you are moving forward with strength, something inside her begins to stir. It is not just curiosity, it is doubt. Doubt about whether she judged you correctly. Doubt about whether she truly understood the man she left behind. That is the power of absence paired with growth. It breaks her certainty. But here is the truth many refuse to face. You cannot fake this. Gym selfies posted out of desperation, flashy purchases meant to broadcast success, surface-level distractions that try to paint over old wounds. These are costumes. And women, wired to read the subtle cues of energy and presence, will always sense the difference. She knows the difference between decoration and discipline, between posturing and progress. Authority is not something you claim, it is something you embody. It cannot be staged because it is revealed in the way you carry yourself when no one is watching. That is why absence must become more than retreat. It must become the crucible where you forge authority. Authority comes when you set non-negotiables for your life, the price of your time, your energy, your attention, and you never sell them at a discount again. Authority comes when you move without announcement, when your progress rises like the tide, reshaping everything around you without needing to shout. Authority comes when you live in forward motion, filling your days so fully with building, creation, and discipline that even the thought of checking on her feels like walking backward into a life you've already outgrown. And here is where the shift happens. Absence, when fueled by true growth, stops being just distance in time and space. It becomes a mirror. She may not admit it, but she begins to look into that mirror and ask herself, did I misjudge him? Did I underestimate who he could become without me? The man she assumed she could predict is no longer there, and what unsettles her most is that she cannot place you in the category she once did. And by the time she feels that mirror reflecting back at her, you will no longer be asking whether she notices or not, because the noticing is no longer the point. The paradox of absence is this: when it is passive, it fades. When it is active, it commands presence even in silence. You cannot control whether she regrets, wonders, or reconsiders. What you can control is whether your absence becomes emptiness or evolution. And when it becomes evolution, her certainty fractures while your sovereignty solidifies. So the real question is not whether your absence makes her miss you. The real question is whether your absence makes you impossible to ignore, not because you sought her attention, but because you broke free of the script she thought she knew. And once you do that, absence stops being a tactic. It becomes a quiet storm, reshaping you into the man she never expected, and the man you were always meant to become. Part 4. Detachment is mastery, not coldness. Detachment is not the stone mask of a man who feels nothing. It is not the act of shutting down your heart, nor pretending you don't care. True detachment is standing in the middle of the storm without letting the wind dictate your course. It is calm in chaos, strength without show, presence without dependence. Yet many men mistake repression for detachment, believing that burying their emotions makes them unshakable. But repression is a dam that eventually cracks. It leaks through restless eyes, slumped shoulders, nervous hands, and the way their attention continues to circle her world. A woman feels that instability. You cannot hide it. Respect evaporates the moment she senses your center is still tied to her approval. You might remain silent, but if that silence is simply a pause before the next outburst, it isn't mastery. It's weakness disguised as restraint, and weakness never commands respect. Masculine energy is not meant to orbit endlessly around someone who no longer invests in you. When it does, it collapses inward, consuming itself until nothing remains but frustration and exhaustion. The tragedy is that men often call this loyalty, when in reality it is stagnation. Energy without direction corrodes. Energy with direction builds. Detachment, therefore, is not about killing your emotions, but about disciplining them, focusing them, and guiding them toward creation rather than destruction. That discipline must be trained every day. Begin each morning without her in your mind. Before the world touches you, train your mind to belong to you. Meditate, write, breathe, or read something that strengthens the spine of your spirit. Then reinforce it with physical discipline. Build a body that reflects control, because strength in the flesh breeds strength in the will, and cut the ghosts that haunt you. Delete the midnight contacts you reach for when loneliness creeps in. Unfollow the feeds that reignite old feelings. Remove the symbols that drag you back into a past that no longer serves your future. Every tether cut is energy reclaimed. And here is the paradox. The more detached you become, the more presence you carry. People feel it in the steadiness of your voice, in the patience of your eyes, in the way you do not scramble to fill silence. A man rooted in himself radiates authority without demanding it. Respect finds him, because respect is drawn to sovereignty. So remember this: detachment is not coldness. It is clarity. It is the quiet mastery of a man who no longer begs the storm to stop, but who walks through it with unshaken steps. And when she sees you again, she will not see indifference. She will see a man untouchable because he no longer needs her to be whole. That is the presence she cannot ignore, and the presence you were always meant to carry. Part 5. Purpose is the real magnet. Chasing a woman is like running on a treadmill. You sweat, you strain, you burn energy, yet you never move forward. You exhaust yourself in motion, but remain in the same place. Purpose, on the other hand, is the open road. Every step takes you further. Every mile builds distance between who you were and who you are becoming. It is direction, not repetition. And that is why purpose will always be the magnet stronger than her memory. When your life revolves around her, you abandon your own orbit. Every mood, every plan, every decision bends around her gravity. She becomes the center, and you reduce yourself to the satellite. That is not love nor strength. That is dependency disguised as devotion. And as long as your center is outside of you, you will always feel unstable, always searching for balance in someone else's movement. But the moment you align yourself with a mission greater than her, greater than romance, greater even than comfort, something extraordinary happens. You become your own center of gravity. Instead of orbiting, you begin to pull. Instead of waiting for her approval, you begin to define your own direction. Men who live with purpose are unshakable because their focus is fixed on something that cannot be taken away by another person's choices. Without that mission, your life becomes riddled with gaps. Distractions fill your days, empty work that drains you, numbing habits that waste you, shallow conversations that go nowhere. And in those gaps, her memory always returns. Her shadow floods in, heavier with each passing day. The more you try to resist it, the stronger it grows, because resistance without redirection is still attention. You cannot simply fight the shadow. You must outgrow it. That is why the solution has always been purpose. define it in stone. What skill will you master until it becomes second nature? What value will you create that outlives you? What legacy will your name stand for when you are gone? These are not casual questions. They are the foundation of a life that commands respect. Once you answer them, align every task, every choice, every hour with them. Guard your time as if it were gold, because it is. Remove whatever does not multiply your direction. And here is the paradox that will change you. When you chase purpose, people begin chasing you, not because you begged them to, not because you needed them to, but because purpose is magnetic. It signals discipline, direction, and self-respect. It draws attention without effort, and it keeps respect without demand. Women may notice it, men may admire it, but most importantly, you will feel it, because you will no longer be defined by what you are missing. You will be defined by what you are building. So ask yourself this: if her memory came back to you today, would it find a man standing still on the treadmill, or a man already miles ahead on his own open road? The answer is what separates those who wait from those who rise. And when you rise with purpose, her absence no longer pulls you backward, because you are already too far gone in the direction you were always meant to walk. Part 6. Become the man she can't recognize. The goal was never to make her miss you. The goal was always for you to meet the man you were meant to become. Because if she returns and finds the same man she walked away from, nothing will change. She will see the same patterns, the same weaknesses, the same comfort that once dulled her respect. That is why her leaving must not be seen as an ending, but as ignition, a spark that burns away who you were and demands that you rise into who you were meant to be. Most men misuse that fire. They turn it into smoke signals, posting, hinting, broadcasting their pain in hope she will see it and return. But true strength does not beg for an audience. True strength lets the fire forge him. The man she cannot recognize is not defined by desperation, but by discipline. He is not louder, he is deeper. He is anchored in self-respect, guided by purpose, and unshakable in the routines that guard his growth. This is how you build him. In the first 2 weeks, cut the dead weight. Delete the numbers your fingers still reach for. Remove the reminders that tether you to a past already gone. In the 3rd week, create a visible win, something undeniable. It could be in your body, in your craft, or in your finances. A victory that even you cannot overlook. Proof that you are no longer standing still. And in the 4th week, protect it. Build rituals so solid, so rooted, that sliding back into the old you becomes nearly impossible. Routine is not restriction, it is reinforcement. It is the armor of the man you are becoming. By then, the man she once knew will no longer exist. She may regret it, or she may not. But it will not matter, because her opinion will no longer be the compass of your direction. You will be living in a frame where her voice is just one among many, and no longer the one that decides your worth. That is the freedom you were meant to find. So ask yourself this: if she saw you tomorrow, would she see the same man she left, or a man she cannot even recognize? Because the moment you become unrecognizable to her is the moment you finally recognize yourself. And that is when you stop waiting to be chosen, because you've already chosen yourself. Your silence will never make her miss you if it is born from longing. Longing is still tethered to her, still waiting for her recognition to make you whole. But when silence rises from sovereignty, from discipline, purpose, and transformation, it becomes untouchable. It no longer depends on her noticing. It becomes a shield, a foundation, a truth. She may see it, or she may not. Either way, you will never regret it, because you will have found the man you were searching for all along. And when the noise of the past finally fades, What remains is not the echo of her absence, but the discipline you have built in her silence. That discipline is the seed of your freedom. It is what turns stillness into power, loss into clarity, and heartbreak into rebirth. If this message spoke to you, give it a like and subscribe to Stoic Station, the place where strength is forged in silence and clarity is carved from struggle. And in the comments, write this vow: I rise through silence. Because the moment you claim it, your silence stops being emptiness. It becomes your proving ground. It becomes the weight beneath your presence, the foundation of a life no one can take from you. And when you rise through silence, you no longer wait to be chosen. You become the man who chooses himself.